Hey, welcome everybody to the brand new Marriage Monthly podcast. It's Gabe and Melissa Kolstad. We're excited to be with you. We're kicking off this podcast because we believe that marriage needs some support right now in this season, and we really like each other, and so we wanted to talk about how that happened and why we think that it keeps happening for us. And so this is really a podcast just to help ordinary couples have extraordinary marriages. We're kicking off a series called How to Enjoy Your Marriage, and so we want to jump right into it and give you some content that's helpful, some practical ideas, and even a little inspirations from some friends of ours. So we want to talk today in this first session on how to enjoy your marriage about the 4 factors of friendship. That's kind of the first aspect of this. So Melissa, what do you think the first factor of friendship is?
Well, I feel like first of all, you have to have common interests. So I feel like when you first start dating someone, you find stuff you like about each other. And you're like, okay, so you like this, I like this too. Okay, cool, let's do that. And so I think that's kind of the main thing is that common interest. I was thinking about my best friend growing up, Shiloh, and you know Shiloh. And we would do everything together. We'd play with Cabbage Patch Dolls and strawberry shortcakes, and we'd roller skate, and we'd go, and we got older, and we'd have sleepovers, and we'd go out to eat, and all this kind of stuff. And we had these common things that we did that was like our things. And I feel like, now, just so you guys know, Gabe and I met. I was 13 years old when we met, and Gabe was 14 years old. And so we have been together a long time. Yep. So our first kiss, July 27th, 1988. So that just shows you how long ago it was. So, but
just celebrated that recently.
That. And anyways, but we have a lot in common, but we could not be more opposite. I am so chocolate.
Yeah.
You are so vanilla.
Bean. Vanilla bean.
Yeah, we go to like a place, a nice ice cream shop, and I want to find some cool chocolate flavor. And he's like, I'm good with just vanilla. And I'm like, no, you're not. Like, but we couldn't be more opposite. But there's so much we have in common that makes life in our marriage so much fun. And so I think that's kind of really important. And I was thinking of a passage in scripture, Philippians Paul was talking to the Philippian people, and he was saying that they had a special place in his heart because they had been through stuff together. He was in jail because of sharing the gospel with them. And so there was this camaraderie, this connection. And so I think that was kind of a big deal for Paul and the Philippians, and they had this bond because of that. So common interests, they just bring you together. It is just how it is in this life. So there's a big idea, and the big idea that I want to share with you guys is sharing comes before feeling. So when you share something with someone, you have an experience with someone, an interest with someone, then there's feelings that develop. And that's what happens a lot of times when you first start dating. But I think that just grows and grows and grows in a healthy marriage. And so sharing comes before feeling. And so what are some shared experiences that you have with your spouse? And I was thinking of some shared experience. What are some shared experiences that we've had?
Oh, man, so many. I mean, some of them hardships, right? Even those can be things that bring you together and have common interests because you overcome something together and you found that same thing that drew you together. But some things that we love to do. We love to travel. Close, far, doesn't matter.
Right.
Adventure and travel, new things are really appealing to us. So that's probably a big common interest for us.
For sure. Then there's values. I mean, like something that we value is communication, truthfulness. I mean, there's a zillion things probably on your fun. We value fun. I mean, we like to adventure together. It's fun. We're going to talk in our next podcast about adventure. So get ready for that. But another thing is, what are your shared likes? Like, what do you like to do together? Like we like hiking and bike riding and restaurants, and we like to find dessert places. And what do you like to do? And then what are some plans? Plan something together. I mean, I have so much fun planning life with you.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't want to plan life with anybody else. We have so much fun doing that. So there's some things. I mean, whether it's like planning a remodel. Okay, we just got done with a remodel on our house.
Not necessarily recommended, but it turned out good.
It brought in a lot of communication.
Yeah.
Like we had to make a lot of decisions and things. And so that was actually kind of fun for us to think through a dream of what do we want our kitchen to look like? Is it quartz or granite? You know, that kind of thing. So that's what we did. And then there's also always planning trips and things like that. Another thing I was thinking about that bring common interests together is, what are you passionate about? Like as a couple, what brings you together? Because there had to be something that brought you together when you first started. I mean, it was church camp for us, but it brought us together, and ministry brought us together, and we're still in ministry today. And I think it came from that time. of what brought us together then and what we were passionate about. So what do you both enjoy? What will bring you together, and what brings you closer to God? And so just thinking through those kind of things have been really helpful in common interests. So I think that's the first factor in friendship, is just the common interest, the commonality that builds as you grow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And the second one that we've kind of uncovered in 25 years, by the way, we just celebrated our 25-year wedding anniversary too.
Right.
So, and in 25 years, what we've kind of figured out is that there's got to be a sense of curiosity. So that's a factor of friendship.
Right.
You know, when you were younger and you had a best friend, you were very curious about them. You know, you wanted to know like, what their room was like. You wanted to know what their house family was like. You wanted to know where they lived before. And so all of these things. So you're very curious and wanted to learn. And I think that's something that we've learned, is that we gotta have this learning about each other. People are so layered.
Yeah.
We've found that we still learn about each other now. And
Right,
so,
because you change. I
Yeah.
mean, 25 years together, you're not the same that you were when you first start out.
Yeah.
And so you got to be okay with that and continue to learn about each other through curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's things that, you know, all the time, every week, I think there's something I'm like, oh, I forgot, or I didn't know that, or that's new.
I am a complex person.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I am too. But there's a fantastic. Oh, by the way, olives is one thing that Melissa used to hate,
I did.
I always thought that was so strange because she claimed to be an Italian when we were dating, and I was like, well, Italian olives, they go together.
Olive oil, it's different.
Olive oil
but
and
whatever.
olives, but you know, I was like always baffled that you didn't like olives. But she has gradually shifted to now being
like
an
him now.
olive liker. I wouldn't say an olive lover.
Yeah.
But that's a shift, and so you know that's a new thing. So
Yes.
now I can order pizza with olives on it, and she'll eat it. So that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. But there's a great book out there called "Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are
Yes.
Like Spaghetti," and we highly recommend that.
So good.
It's kind of old. It's fantastic. It's a classic, and it talks so much about this aspect of learning about each
Mm-hmm.
other that we've learned from that book. Song of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 12 says, "You are my private garden, my treasure, my bride, a secluded spring, a hidden fountain." And I think that attitude of like, wow, there's depth and mystery and wonder to this person that God has given me. And I want to spend my life learning about all the things about you, and, you know, in an effort to not only know you better, but also serve you better and love you better. And so I think there's some questions. So here's a question. What do they like? And so I thought it'd be fun to ask you, what's something that you think I like?
Oh, cars. So many cars.
Okay, cars, definitely. Yeah. So I do like cars. I like lots of different cars.
Yes.
And what's something that I dislike?
Too many sweets.
Yeah.
Because I
that's
could
true.
do dessert
Kind of get
every day,
over
and
the
I
top.
probably do.
Yeah.
But you're not really into that. You'd rather have like a giant yeast roll in your hand, and I'd
That's
rather
true.
have a big old chocolate cake.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, how about you? What's something you dislike?
Oh, mushrooms.
Yeah.
I hate mushrooms.
Okay.
Texture's gross.
But even again, like you used to not even be able to stand the thought of mushrooms, but now you'll have like a dish that has mushrooms in it, but you'll pick them out.
I have grown.
Yeah, for sure. Here's another question. What do they want? I think that's an important thing to know. And so what do you think something that you want is?
Ooh, I don't know. I want to go to Amsterdam.
Okay. We've talked about that. We actually intended to do that for our 25th wedding anniversary
Yeah.
and then COVID, so
Yeah,
we didn't,
didn't work.
but maybe next year.
Yeah.
Another question is, what do they need to know about me? And so kind of mining, like, sometimes we do things and it's hard to read between the lines and it's sort of mysterious and maybe frustrating actually if we aren't revealing some of those
Right.
things. So that curiosity piece of feeding their curiosity and helping satisfy their curiosity by just sharing, being open.
Yeah.
Things like this, like, what am I thinking? Trying to feel like you can figure it out. It's not going to be an impossibility for you to figure it out. So what am I thinking? What am I dreaming about? The person that we're going to spend the rest of our life with, they deserve to know what we're dreaming about.
Yeah.
And so just sharing that, and I think that's important to cultivate that aspect of curiosity is then when that person shares, like, listen, absorb it,
Yeah.
sometimes you might be tempted to kind of cut it off or shut it down because you're like, well, I don't want to do that. But sometimes it's about just sharing it and then getting to kind of express
Yeah.
that and then coming up with something that you can do together based on that. And another thing is, what do I want to change about myself? I think that's an important thing to be able to understand. Not that I wouldn't say well, Melissa, I want you to change something
Right,
about
that
me.
will not work.
You know? I wouldn't want you to say you want to change something about me, but I would want you to say you would support me in me changing something about me. So just being able to share a little bit about
and that could be like education, like things like that. Like I want to go further in my education. I want to do this. I want to do that. And like Gabe's a very ambitious person and very driven and wants to do new things all the time. Hence why we're doing this. But you know, so I just want to support him in his dreams. And I think that's kind of where that's going.
Yeah. So those are the first two factors of friendship. We actually got to sit down with our friends Dion and Perla, a great couple that we know that really exhibit friendship in their relationship. And we got to talk to them about what that means to them. So I want you to check this out.
Yeah.
And I remember before I even really started getting serious with Perla, I always knew that I wanted to marry somebody that was going to have the same values as me, that was going to have the same love and appreciation for God. So that was something that I saw in her. Mm-hmm. You know, I dated other girls, but they just didn't have that. Right. But Perla did. Yep. So I was like, ooh.
Before we got married, I made a list of 10 non-negotiable things that I wanted in a guy, even before I met Dion. And I think when I made that list, I had met him a couple months afterwards, and we were just friends. We were friends for like 5 years before we started dating or something like that. And he hit all those. And I mean, he's just such a rock star. And
that's right.
He didn't hit some of the physical things, but that's okay. We're still working on it.
She wanted someone a little taller.
No.
It worked out though.
But it worked out. And I love what he said about having those crucial conversations, because I have so many friends nowadays that want to date someone, but they don't really see eye to eye on like religion or politics or raising kids. And there's always this division because one parent's doing one thing, the other parent's doing a different thing, and then their kids don't see that unity. And so we knew that we did not want to do that. We knew that we wanted to be unified and that we wanted to have the same common goals and values.
Next question. What are some things you do to stay friends while also married?
That's such a great question. One of the things that we do a lot is laugh. So if you know us, we do laugh a lot. And I remember when we went to Cuba, and at the end of our trip, one of the pastors mentioned how they always heard us giggle. Like, we just make the best out of every memory, every situation. We love to create memories, so we love to do things that are adventurous. And laughing is easy. You don't really have to pay for it. You don't have to do much. You just
She's a cheap date.
You just have to keep a positive mental perspective.
And I would say that the root of that, at least for us, for our relationship, is in God's word, though. Mm-hmm. And because we couldn't live that lightheartedly if we weren't in God's word daily.
For us, we actually try to do everything together. So as much as possible, we try to do everything together. We cook together. We go to the gym together. We go on walks together. We spend time with each other together. We're always together because it creates us unified. Uh-huh. And it helps us to encourage each other because we're always talking to each other. I know that when we have a best friend, right, we always want to be around them. We want to get their perspective. We want to seek them out. So we're very intentional about seeking each other out every single day because that's who I'm going to spend the most of the time with anyways. Apart from myself spending the most time with myself, I spent a lot of time with him. Mm-hmm. And he's the person that I chose to live the rest of my life with. So we are super intentional about spending time with each other all the time, creating memories, like I said earlier. And we read books together. We love to read, and we love to read marriage books together to grow ourselves and to seek other people's perspective that have fruit on the tree, and to see if we would trade our lives with that person, we get their perspective.
It's not good.
And if not, then we don't take their opinion.
Yeah, for me, it's just a 3-letter word. I don't know if it's appropriate to say it on here.
Go ahead.
As far as activities.
You're so
go ahead.
Start with an S.
Sex, yeah. Sex. It's a wonderful gift. We're very fortunate for it. It helps us stay unified for sure.
Another thing I do want to add too is since we do a lot of stuff together, it's not like I have my own friends and he has his own friends. We have our friends.
Yeah.
And it's not like I have my money and he has his money. We have our money.
How does friendship help you through the hard times?
I would say we have to rely on an even deeper love than just friendship. You know, you got to rely on that agape love. When we look at our relationship, we look at our marriage as a ministry. It's not just about me and Perla. It's about the people that are in our lives. We want to be an example of what Christ's love for his wife is. For those who didn't know, Jesus is married. He's got a wife too. And her name is the church. And we are the church. We are his wife. So in the same way that he loved, whenever at least I'm going through difficulties and I'm struggling, whether it's with her or other things, I remember that when I'm like angry at her, I remember, man, Christ loved his wife so much that he died for her. He was willing to humble himself for her. He was willing to pay a price for her. And I'm over here tripping over some miscommunication. You know what I'm saying? And realizing, man, it's like, and just being quick to say, you know what? I'm sorry. And I say it that way too, because it's not easy.
Always love hearing from Dion and Perla.
So cool.
They're just a jewel of a couple. And we're going to keep going, though. We've got 2 more of these factors of friendship. So, Melissa?
All right. The third factor is care. Care. This is super important. I mean, I think when you really love somebody, you automatically want to care for them and meet their needs and help them. And so I was thinking about the scripture about David and Jonathan. They had such a strong bond friendship, and Jonathan cared so much about David, and David cared so much about Jonathan. And I know in 1 Samuel, it's talking about the story, and King Saul, which is Jonathan's dad, did not like David, was threatened by David because David was getting pretty popular, and the king did not like that. And so Jonathan ends up telling David that his dad is going to go after him and kill him. So he had this such strong bond with David that he warned him because he cared about him. And they had this tight connection, this tight friendship. I mean, Jonathan had David's back. David had Jonathan's back. And I was thinking about that, thinking, man, when you have a relationship like this, we better have each other's back. Like, I better know you care for me, and you better know that I care for you.
Yeah.
And I always tell Gabe, it's you and me, babe. No matter what, anything can go down. It's us together. And he knows
I love
that.
Yeah. When we've gone through some hard times or just faced a lot of pressure or uncertainty, just knowing that it's not just that I've known that, but you've told me that out loud multiple times in those seasons.
Right.
And that's been really important. Yeah.
I think it's important that, like, I'm your cheerleader and you're my champion, and we are in it to win it. We're in this together, and we care for each other's needs and desires and wants. And the big idea here is that care is the outward expression of an inner love. And I see how much Gabe loves me because he cares so deeply for me, and he will do anything for me. And I know that I'm number one. And our kids know that, and it's just something that it's just the way we are. We just have this connection of care for each other and love for each other, and the care that comes out is just this inner love that I just love him so much that I have to express by cooking him meals every night because I like to cook, and that's just how I am. But
and I'm so glad.
Yeah, because he would not. It would be like cup of noodles every night.
Yeah.
So I know how that rolls. So. How can you help them? Like, what do they need help on? I mean, do they need a meal? Do they need a snack? Do they need like a back rub? Do they need a gift, a surprise, a conversation? Like, how are we constantly checking on each other's needs? And like, how can I help you? Where are they vulnerable at? Is there a sensitivity, an area in your spouse that they're kind of like sensitive about? And you got to be careful around that area and be sensitive toward each other in that. And that shows such care. And then how can I attend to your needs? Like, what can I do to serve you and help you? And I mean, like, sometimes it's like, can you do the toilets? But
well, I have a list of how you can do that, so I'll give it afterward.
Great. I'll check that later. Yeah. But another way that you care for each other, and this one's really important to me because this is something that Gabe and I value so much. It's confidentiality. I think that trustworthiness is number one in a marriage. And if you can't trust each other, you better pull back and start over and just start learning how to be trustworthy and how to trust each other. I think it's so important that there's dignity in your relationship. If Gabe and I got in a fight, the last thing I would ever do is go on Facebook and start spewing about what a jerk he is. I think I've seen that happen so often. A few months ago, I saw a husband and wife, and they had a conversation on Facebook that I told you about, and they were swearing at each other and really just calling each other names. I couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing. And I was just so blown away because I thought, wow, there's just no level of care there. It's all selfishness. And so I just thought, wow, that was surprising to me.
Yeah.
And so
And
I
damaging,
just, and
you know,
damaging,
it's hard
you
to
know,
recover from
you
those
know
things.
that was
Yeah.
damaging.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anyways, so care is just like you have each other's back, and I have your back no matter what, and you know I do. There's a book out that I'll recommend called Love and Respect, and this book was really a changer for me in my thought process because I always feel like I thought that Gabe received love like I receive love, which is show me love, you know, show me attention and that kind of thing. But men really receive love by respect. And that may sound weird, but it makes sense because when a man feels disrespected, he does not feel loved. So as women, I think we need to really be mindful of how we are treating our man and making sure that we're uplifting and cheerleading and championing him because that makes him full of love. And then as a result of that, it reciprocates back to you and then you're shown love. So it's kind of the cycle that happens. And so Love and Respect was a great book. So that's number 3, Care.
Great. And number 4 is commitment. I mean, that kind of holds all of it together. That, that's one thing that I've always felt so secure about in our marriage and our relationship is that I've never doubted that you were going to.
Well, we don't say the D word. We never say divorce.
100%.
Yeah.
We've really ruled that out. We've made that actually kind of a pact with each other. Even if somebody's joking about it, it's sort of offensive to me. Because we've just made that pact that, we decided when we got married, we took this line from a marriage book or a marriage course that we heard, and it said, lock the escape hatch and throw away the key. There's like, there's the thought of it's not working, so let's end it, or it's not working, so let's go do something else. We just took that off the table.
Yeah, there's no plan B. This is it for life.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important thing. And you see that in scripture in this great story of friendship of Ruth and Naomi back in the Old Testament. I love this story. You see Ruth makes this illogical commitment to her mother-in-law who had, her mother-in-law had lost her husband, and then her 2 daughters-in-law lost their husbands. So, Naomi lost her husband and her sons.
Yep.
So she wants to take care of these girls, and by wanting to take care of them, she's basically wants to send them away to go find new husbands. But she knew that she was going to suffer, and the daughters-in-law, they knew that she was going to suffer. And so they said, one of them said, great, I'm going to go do that. Yeah. I'm going to go find another husband. But Ruth goes, not on your life. She says this, she goes, wherever you die, I will die, and there I'll be buried. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. I thought, that's friendship. And really, that's what we say at the altar of marriage. We say, till death do us part. And that attitude of commitment that basically says, I'm going to put your goals before my goals. I'm going to put your needs before my needs. Yep. I'm going to put your success before my success, and I'm not going to let a lack on my part drive us apart.
Right.
I think there's so many things to this. The big idea here is that friendship is a commitment to stick together no matter what.
Yep.
And it means being willing to go through hard times. If one spouse, we say in sickness and in health, if one spouse is struggling with health, struggling with depression, struggling with anything, it's that commitment to say, aside from, I think, obvious things like abuse or abandonment, where obviously there needs to be a timeout and get some help, some professional help, and make sure that the person is safe. Right. I want to make sure that that's clear. Yeah. But I think we got to remember that marriage is an institution created by God. It is not disposable,
right?
And that's really, really important, for our lives. I think one of the things about this is that you not only have this commitment to your spouse, but I think that you also have a commitment to say, I want to be the best me I can be for you. And so you take care of yourself too. And I think that's something that you do such a good job at, is that you really develop yourself. You really work on your health. You work on just being your best. And that makes it then so easy to stay upbeat, and drawn to you because you're always working on yourself. And it's not me saying, do this, but I feel like that's also a commitment to the marriage because you're saying, I'm going to be the best me I can be.
Right, because too many times people will settle in and just be like, so they stop doing anything to serve each other because they just get comfortable and they just are kind of the grind of life. Children and things like that will kind of halt things down. So I think it's true, like not just settling and stopping, but always growing and thriving and being better for each other. I think is huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, you're great at that.
Thanks, you are too.
I'm glad you do it. The other thing I think we got to remember is seasons. Seasons are such a big deal. So, when there's a hard time, I think we got to remember this too shall pass. This is a season. Even if you're watching this in 2020, when we're putting it out, it's been a crazy year, and we're looking around going, what in the world is happening? Who changed our world so much? And do we get the old one back? But the truth is that whatever comes, we know this is a season. The next season's probably gonna be different than this one, and and they're all new. So I think just having that commitment, even with kids and all. So here's a couple things about kids is that we realize that kids bring a different dynamic into relationship. And for us, we did something early on that I think you actually really, I think, led the way in our marriage on. And that is that you said, let's make sure that each other is first, even before the kids. And that's hard to always do practically. Like you can say
especially
that.
when you have toddlers.
Yeah, but when you got a toddler that
screaming.
So what do you think are some practical ways that that we've done that, where we put one another even before our kids?
I think that just being consistent in dating and just being together, planning together, spending time together, just us. And when we are together, not only talking about the kids, but talking about each other and our relationship, I think has been really, really helpful.
Yeah, it demonstrates commitment for sure.
Yeah, because it's like there's more to our relationship than just being parents.
Yeah.
So I think that's important because a lot of times when the kids get in the picture, it's all of a sudden your parents more than your couple. And we always have just tried so hard to be a couple first.
Yeah.
Married, couple, and then parents.
Yeah. I think it even comes down to things like budgeting, just making sure that you don't spend every last dime on, the kids, and then you have zero for your marriage.
Each other,
so it's almost like do that first and have a healthy home, and then that stuff sort of takes care of itself.
And I feel like, and we've gone to marriage conferences, and we go to marriage retreats, and we put on marriage retreats, and we will read marriage books together, and we've done that since day one, since we got married, and I think that's been really, really helpful too.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. What is the long-term value of our relationship? We've talked so much about that. We did early on, and it's been a very consistent, always thinking about long-term value of our relationship. What forces, events, or voices are trying to separate our relationship? And
that's good to notice.
Man, it doesn't matter who you are, what line of work you're in, how many friends you have that are positive, how much faith you have in God. I mean, there's gonna be things that try to separate you.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to make a commitment. In-laws, outlaws,
and noticing
everybody, that you just go, whoa, nothing will come between
that's
us,
right.
and I think that's important.
So good.
And then the other question would be, what am I willing to sacrifice to stay together? And I think that's really exactly. But a lot of times our selfishness will pop up and go, well, not that, anything but.
Right.
And so
I'm not moving there. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So that's the commitment aspect of friendship. And with Ruth and Naomi, it was just off the charts. So we want to encourage you to do that. Now, next steps, because this podcast is going to continue, I want to encourage you to subscribe to this podcast. It's going to be something that we think is going to add value. Want to encourage you to follow the podcast on social media. Share this with friends that you know that are married or getting married and want to have a little bit of a boost. And also want to encourage you to check out our church, westsidecommunitychurch.com. This podcast really represents Westside, and join us for Church Online. Each Sunday we do Church Online, and we'd love to have you join us, and we'd love to see you again next month for episode 2.
Yep.